So to kind of get started, I saw this thing on Instagram from this guy named Drew. I guess he used to work at Cymatics, and he was talking about, oh, I'm sure you've seen all this stuff on the internet, blah, blah, blah. And I was watching the video. I'm like, I haven't seen anything on the internet. So people in the comments were saying, oh, Cymatics bought ProducerGrind. As an EDM producer, I'm like, what is ProducerGrind? It's a very big producer channel. It's mainly focused towards like the general hip hop producer, pop producer, things like that. I forget his actual name, but he goes by Busywork Beats on YouTube. And he had this big live stream on Cymatics buying ProducerGrind. You know, EDM producers, if you weren't producing EDM in like 2015, 2016, the rise of Cymatics was something that was like pretty controversial in the beginning. I still think it's mildly like not looked down upon, but it's kind of like, oh, you use Cymatics samples or whatever. And I'll say, I've used some of their samples. It's always like white noise effects and transition effects and like nothing that like is the meat of a song, right? I'm not just like dragging loops or anything. But Cymatics never had like the best rep, right? They would do like a pack and like name it kind of off from the artists that they were kind of emulating and whatnot. And it was always just kind of like gimmicky. And I still feel like they're like mad gimmicky, but they were only EDM samples, presets, like all that stuff for a long time. And then I guess they kind of moved over to the hip hop realm because that's where most of the money in music production, as far as like samples and presets and things go, are in that realm. I mean, he goes on this whole thing. He's like, Steven from Cymatics, he is not cool with him at all. This live stream is I would just put it on 1.5 speed and go watch it. This guy's really cool. I ended up like interacting with one of his live streams, and he's really nice. I'm actually going to test out some of his plugins tomorrow for the studio stream. So be sure to tune into that because I told him, I was like, I'm going to try to break some of your plugins.
Their reputation was not good to come into hip hop. It was, remember back then, Cymatics was all
And honestly, after learning more about ProducerGrind and knowing enough about Cymatics, it seems very strange to me. Cymatics wasn't always hip hop, right? Like it was always kind of like EDM focused, but there was always kind of like this weird smell about it, you know? And again, no hate to, you know, people who use their samples, but it was like low-hanging fruit to a certain degree.
Loops and Skrillex type stuff. It was never hip hop stuff. It was never trap stuff. It was never any of that because nobody believed them.
Yeah.
They were too outside the culture. So once I introduced them to Sound Oracle, then you started seeing them slowly get into hip hop.
So his whole beef with them is that they leech off of people's likeness to sell packs. And he was live over the weekend. I commented on one of his streams and I was like, hey, I am an EDM producer. They don't have the best rep with us either. It's always been mad gimmicky. Once he started saying like using people's likeness, that's when I was like, that's exactly what they're doing. For sure. That's exactly what they're doing. Oh, and on this stream, right? So there was a video on ProducerGrind where he kind of goes in and tears Steven from Cymatics a new one. But he goes into this thing where he's looking at a video that was the top video on ProducerGrind where he's kind of criticizing Steven from Cymatics and how he is essentially the economic hitman of the producer world, where he describes it as like America goes to Haiti and gives a bunch of rice away for free. What happens to all the people who sell rice in Haiti? Well, they essentially go out of business. And then the people who sell rice from America can come in and basically dominate the market. And that's what he's saying Cymatics is doing with the sample and preset game and using people's likeness to do it. I had never heard this take before, nor have I kept up with anything Cymatics has been doing for the last 5 years because they've been like doing the same thing they did in EDM with hip hop, right? Yeah. Lysergic says, Steven from Cymatics is always spamming my email. 1000%. That was like one big reason where it's like, oh, get this pack. There's only 500 left. It's like, what do you mean there's only 500 left? It's not like an NFT where there's like a limited amount or anything. You know, it's like that could be duplicated into infinity because it's a digital product, right? So he's talking about how they basically come in and make something super cheap, if not free, in a real gimmicky way, and then eliminates the people who are kind of making a living doing that in the same market by undercutting their product and their price. And again, I never heard that take, but I've always known Cymatics has kind of done that, right? Since Cymatics moved over to the hip hop world, there has been a resurgence of very, very good sample and preset, companies that have kind of come up in that wake over the last few years that I think Culture is spelled with a K. Really good one. Minimal Audio, their samples are fantastic. Avant is a really, really good sample pack company. So he goes in and he tears him a new one. But while he's looking at his video on stream, the video gets deleted. While he's watching his video trying to explain his point of view, the video gets deleted on ProducerGrind. And his whole point is like, oh, well, if he's deleting this, is he going to go delete, if he doesn't like Metro Boomin, is he going to go delete Metro Boomin's interview, right? Like, is he going to go, and I went into a rabbit hole and then ended up hopping into one of his lives to kind of throw some comments at it. Yeah, this is another video. This was the live stream where he actually includes TB from ProducerGrind. It's at 28:51. And I'm just going to go ahead and apologize for the language in advance. He does use some choice words, which like I'm trying to avoid, but I want to watch this video to kind of prove my point here. But yeah, so this is TB from ProducerGrind, and he like gets on a live stream on a Discord call with them, and he kind of explains his point of view where he's like, hey, we're not selling out. We're trying to make money. It's a business. But I'll let him kind of say his part here.
All Steven did, he put it into now we could actually see the potential of what PG could do. You have to understand that involves kits too, my nigga. That's how we made our money, nigga. We don't make money off the interviews, all them fucking 800 videos and tutorials I did. Them shits ain't make no money. It was the kits that make money, bro. You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying at the end of the day, bro, like, ain't nobody, nigga, PG not finna sell out, bro. That shit dead, bro.
So,
the only reason why I'm addressing this.
So from the guy who works there, he says it's not gonna sell out. And honestly, like, there's no way to tell, right? But my experience as, an EDM producer, dubstep producer, Cymatics already had this like stink about them, right? And they all had this, it was very just like, oh, use Cymatics samples or use, and I'll say some of their presets in like the first couple months that they dropped, some of their presets were good. And this was like right when Serum kind of first came out and people were still figuring out Serum, and they in that one little speck of time, they had like some good presets, but they were still ripping off other people. Yeah, Cymatics fell off hard in EDM, right? And it seems like they're kind of not necessarily selling out, but they're having to, cover up their reputation by like partnering with someone who has a fantastic reputation like ProducerGrind. Oh, yeah, right here. So I went ahead and I was doing some research here, and I found this Reddit post, and I think this Reddit post really kind of covers the mood behind this, right? This guy says, for anyone who missed the announcement, it's true, Steven acquired ProducerGrind. This is exciting news for me. I'm looking forward to seeing more collaborations with sound designers, artists, producers, and sample makers. Hopefully the quality of the packs will improve even more. However, I'm a bit skeptical about the possibility of Steven going back to his money-grabbing tactics, like spamming emails, releasing overpriced, low-quality packs, and recycling old sounds that could hurt both brands badly. I just think their overall kind of effect on the producer market and like where people get their inspiration. Ominous says, I really don't like their email marketing tactics. I bet I could go into my email, type in Cymatics, and just see every single day emails like, packs going out of style, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, relax. People are going to pass your pack around anyways, like if you use the Ivory pack, that's like the dubstep pack that people are using right now. The info or like the little text file in the Ivory pack is like, hey, thanks for supporting this pack however you got it. Like, he's a realistic Probably because he's pirated tons of packs himself, right? Who hasn't? To sit there and say like that there's limited quantity of this stuff when you could just go to, what was it, like Root Tracker or something like that, and just get any pack that ever existed ever. I don't know. It's just very like leaves a bad taste in your mouth as a consumer. This guy says Cymatics honestly just ruined their image, and I could see it happening with ProducerGrind over the last couple months. Now ProducerGrind will be ruined too. I genuinely hope not. I did research on them, and they have a really good thing going on. Yeah, I like ProducerGrind stuff, so I hope Steven doesn't overdo it with constant pack after pack drop where they'll start putting quantity over quality. Yeah, that's exactly what he did with EDM as well. This guy says, I can see Steve completely ruining ProducerGrind and everyone leaving. Trap Genesis is meh. I think Trap Genesis was like their first collab pack. There's like a beta out for it right now. It says Trap Genesis is meh. Cymatics is just so awful. Saw their recent tutorials and it was painful. The quality of their material is awful. When they released that new mystery bundle, I physically cringed. It's a pump and dump of low quality content for people who desperately want to be producers. Unfortunately, this is not good because then next it'll become a monopoly and so on. Yeah, I thought this guy's comment was interesting. From the moment they announced the quote-unquote collaboration, I immediately noticed how it was marketed. I just knew right away that Steven bought ProducerGrind. And to be honest, I don't see things improving at all. If you want to change your company, you as a person also need to change. And that was BusyWorks' big issue, was like he's just the kind of person that he is, and his intent behind buying ProducerGrind was malicious, essentially, and that it's not going to help the common producer or people who genuinely want to learn and grow as producers. He's just going to capitalize on that and not recycle any of that revenue generated back into the producer community, which as a teacher, I think that's super important, right? Like people need to be able to access resources that make it easier for them to reach their goals, right? And part of that is revenue, once you get to a certain level of producing. And what most of us have been able to tell from the past 2-3 years, maybe in the past 4 years, is that Cymatics has been stagnating in everything they do. They make S overpriced sample packs, plugins, etc. The market isn't asking for it anymore. All I'm seeing is just another polished turd with a golden promise that isn't happening. And again, I'm going to go to the big camp for this right here. As a representative of the EDM community and EDM producers across the world, Cymatics has always had a fishy rap. Gimmicky, leechy, very cheesy, low-hanging fruit, low-quality stuff. And so the fact that they're doing the same thing to hip-hop and like pop and lo-fi producers and stuff, it does make me cringe. Makes me physically cringe, because they're the quantity, they're like Americanizing and imperializing producer content, right? And to see something like ProducerGrind get taken over by someone with that kind of mindset is highly questionable. Now, there's other people involved that could make it different, right? And I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and see where it goes. But you won't see me getting in any of those packs. One, I don't need them. Two, it's still got the stench. It's still got the Cymatics stench on it. And I'm personally not going to take part in it. But I will sit in the corner and watch and see how things change.